What's up, guys? Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Thursday, April 7th. Sorry the report is late this week. I don't know, I got some sort of electronic gremlins going on with me right now. I've shot this thing 2 or 3 times and had camera failures, computer failures, upload failures, so on and so forth. Finally getting it done. Hopefully this time 15th time's the charm, or whatever, how many times we've been doing this. Bite is changing, and we got a lot of different weather things going on. It got really good earlier in the week, slowed down quite a bit yesterday. Windy as heck today, so kind of hard to tough to fish today. Got a massive cold front coming in tonight. Chance of snow tomorrow. So things are changing. The best way to stay on top of it, of course, become a pro member of Table Rock Fishing Intel, get all that information, find out what's going on the lake every day. We got daily reports, weekly reports, all that information is available every day to pro members of Table Rock Fishing Intel. Lake level, we're at 915.8, so about a foot high. Water temperature, it's fluctuating. We were getting into that mid-50 range. Saw a lot of 54s, 55s, even saw some 57s, saw some dirty water that was like 58, 59. Cooled down a little bit yesterday, still around that 54 range. Expecting it to cool down by the weekend. We're supposed to be below freezing on Saturday morning, so that should be a treat, and that'll knock that water temperature down. And like I said, that's moving those fish around. As far as if you're going to come down and fish the lower end of the lake, I got a couple bites that are working really well down there. Basically 3 bites. And I know a lot of you guys watching this are probably going to fish the Big Bass Tour this weekend. So I'm going to try to give you some ideas where I think the better fish will be caught and what they'll be caught on in each area of the lake. As far as at the lower end, for numbers of fish, catching limits, catching keepers, swim bait's really working well, especially on windy days. Kitech 2.8 on a 1/4 ounce head, mostly on flat gravel, main lake and secondary points, where you've got, you're going into a spawning pocket. And that really seems to be the key on that. As far as if you don't have wind, or, if it's a dead slick calm day, we've had several dead slick calm days mixed into these really high wind days. Doing better with either a Jewel Pro spider jig or like a Jewel squirrel head, shaky head type thing. I've been using a little bit bigger bait on it, been using a Senko on it versus using like a finesse worm. Been getting good bites on that. Most of the fish, regardless of whether we're throwing a swim bait or a shaky head, have been in that 5 to 15 foot range. So keep your boat at around 20, and that'll get you right in the wheelhouse of the fish. Trying to target bigger fish. Those same areas, mostly secondary points though, not really catching any really good fish on the main lake, but mostly secondary points with either a jerkbait, I've been using the Spro McStick, or an A-rig. And really it comes down to having your live scope or active target, your targeting sonar, being able to see the fish and putting that bait in front of the fish. Seems like those better fish are biting later in the day as well. Flatter points, rock and gravel mix, a little bit later in the day seems to be when we're catching those better fish. Move up into the Kimberling City area. The same bites are working. Catching them on a swim bait, catching them on a shaky head, catching them on a Pro spider jig, on those gravel and rock mixed, main lake and secondary points, 5 to 15 foot deep, around spawning pockets. That's been key. You can add to that, throwing a spider jig or a flipping jig into some of the brush piles, especially around boat docks. Been catching fish doing that. Better fish, again, seems like they're biting a little bit later in the day when the water warms up. A-rig, jerkbait, or a bigger swim bait in the Kimberling City area. Same basic locations on and around those secondary points, flatter points with rock and gravel mixed. Have been the key spots to find these fish. Move up into the James, fish the James over the weekend. The water gets really dirty, it gets muddy. When I was up there over the weekend, I was around Cape Fair. It got, really muddy. Started to get into a lot of debris. You've got a lot of snaggers up there still. Snagging season's still going on. So if you're going to venture up that far, it is, you know, you're going to have to deal with snaggers and you're going to have some debris in the water. The bites that we had, we fished basically from point 12 down. Caught them really good on a jig, Jewel Pro spider jig. Flat points going into spawning pockets, both main lake and secondaries. 5 to 15 foot deep, some of them a little bit shallower if we had some brush or some other cover up shallow that we could pitch the jig into. Not biting a jig, I threw a shaky head a little bit, the jewel squirrel head with a Senko on it, catching them on that as well. Not really catching them on a swim bait up there, but better fish are coming on a jerk bait. Better fish are coming on a bigger swim bait, like a 3/8 or even a 4/8 swim bait, and better fish are coming on an 8-rig. So those would be my 3 baits if I'm going to go up the James, trying to catch a big fish up there. And I'd probably throw a big jig into that as well. I might even throw like a 3/4 ounce football jig on some of those flatter gravel points, that 5 to 15. And again, it seems like as the day progresses, as it gets warmer in the afternoon, and I'm talking like noon to 3, noon to 4, that seems to be when those better fish are up and feeding a little bit more as that water warms up. White River, spent 3 or 4 days up the White River in the last 7 days. Bite is about the same up there. You know, everything is transitioning onto these flat points. The bite's definitely better on days when the water gets a chance to warm up. And same sort of baits, swim bait, Kitech 2.8 on a 1/4 ounce head, Jewel squirrel head with a Senko, Jewel Pro spider jig, Jewel Pee-wee football jig. On the bottom on those days when it's not windy, 5 to 15 foot deep. Keep the boat in about 20, 22 foot of water. Work those over. I didn't mention this on the other ones, but it seems like if you have a secondary point that has a little bit of timber on it or a little bit of brush on it, you will get more bites. Big fish again up there. Jerkbait's been really good. And you're working that jerkbait pretty quick. You're not letting it sit very long. A second or two is all you're going to let it sit. A rig and a bigger swim bait, and again, use your targeting sonar to find those isolated big marks up there on those points and on those flatter rock and gravel mixed points leading in the spawning pockets. Those are, generally speaking, the better largemouth that are just out there cruising, getting ready to stage up and move up and spawn. Guys, we are a full week into April. I would say the lake is probably 2 to 3 weeks behind where it should be based on water temperature and based on fish movement. Normally by now we're starting to see a lot of fish cruising. I have been seeing a handful of fish in the afternoons towards the backs of creeks and backs of pockets, mostly buck males, just kind of cruising around looking, not making beds, not even thinking about beds, through whitelist Senkos in front of them, can't get them to bite. And normally by now we'd start to see a lot of beds around. I think this cold front's going to knock them back again. So, you know, again, we're a little bit behind, but these fish need to spawn by the end of the month. So things are probably going to break loose in the next couple of weeks, and the fishing is going to get fantastic. Best way to know when that's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what you're going to need to do. Join Table Rock Fishing Intel, become a pro member, and get those daily reports, weekly reports, and all the other feature information that we put on there. So you can know before you go, and you can catch more fish and spend more time catching fish rather than searching for fish when you're on Table Rock. But if you're coming down, want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743. Hit my website, book online. Either way, I get back to you as soon as I can. Guys, thanks for watching the videos. If you got a minute, check out Table Rock Fishing Intel. Thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.